We will first hear from Viv and then we'll hear Professor. Thank you.
Is it okay if I remove my mouse here? Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Can everyone hear me? Great. I apologize, I'm going to use a very low-tech media for my speech, but the reason is because I've made some notes and I like to refer to my notes. So, Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius, Professor Dhanjay Jhurry, Dean of the Faculty of Information and Communication and Digital Technology, Professor Padayatchy, distinguished guests, good morning. So it gives me great pleasure and honor to sign this research collaboration agreement with the University of Mauritius today. And it's been the fruits of almost a year of discussion and with my good friends, Professor Sunil Bechu and Dr. Malaika. And today is just the fruition of that discussion and of course with the Vice Chancellor. And so we are signing a research collaboration agreement where Cybernaptics will commit funds for a period of 3 years to a research assistant from the University of Mauritius in the field of artificial intelligence and robotic process automation. So the research assistant will work alongside our team of developers. So there will be this collaboration between the UOM and Cybernaptics. And at the same time, that RA, if he so decides, he might undertake academic work that could eventually lead to a master in philosophy and be extended eventually to a PhD. So we have two main objectives for signing this agreement today. The first one, this RCA is in line with Cybernaptics' own roadmap, which was presented to the board a few months ago, the 2021 to 2025 roadmap to enhance our R&D capabilities. And we hope that through initiatives like this RCA, we will enhance our capabilities to develop innovative and new products and services that will have commercial applications, not only in the local market, but also in the African market where we are positioned ourselves. So the university has obviously a pool of talent, and for a company with limited research capabilities like ourselves, we feel that by joining the university in this research collaboration agreement, it gives us the best of both worlds and to tap into the intellectual capabilities of the university. Secondly, the second objective is that we strongly believe that close and sustained collaboration between the private sector and the universities, and in this case, the University of Mauritius, is the only way forward for us as a country to embrace the technological world. And it also helped to bridge the gap between academia and the industry in order to make sure that our young graduates who join the job market are also industry ready. And that is very important. At our last board meeting, we have agreed at the board level to create an R&D fund. So the money for funding this research assistantship is actually coming from that fund, but we hope to be able to do other things as well. So this is actually, excuse me, a first-time experience for us, but by no means it's going to be the last. In fact, if anything, we hope to strengthen that collaboration over time. And we ourselves, we are positioning the company to be able to tap into the opportunities of the African market. We've established a first presence in Nairobi, Kenya, And I'm pleased also to announce that we will be establishing a second office in French-speaking Africa, West Africa, in a country called the Republic of Togo, in the capital city of Lomé. And so it makes sense for us to be able to go to Africa with enhanced capabilities, new and innovative products, and things that, you know, we have been able to create locally that we can then export. Why is the development of intellectual property important? You know, Cybernaptics is first and foremost a technology company. And as a technology company, of course, we work with certain vendors that offer certain products and technologies like Microsoft, like HP, like Oracle. But, you know, when we go to Africa, if we don't have original intellectual property, there's no differentiation, because there are thousands of partners like us who are qualified to sell those products. And therefore, you know, when you're facing international competition, if you don't bring something additional to the table, then you know, the competition becomes very tough. And that is the main reason why we feel that we have to create intellectual property. So product differentiation is a key in trying to develop intellectual property, but also we feel that by creating local IP, we are able to translate the experience that we have generated in this country in various sectors, whether it's financial, whether it's textile, whether it's in tourism industry. There are certain number of things that this country has done well, and I think that we could actually export in terms of know-how and IP. You know, technology is an enabler. I think COVID-19 has showed us how technology has helped companies to ensure business continuity. And it would be very interesting to actually imagine that had COVID-19 struck Mauritius 15 years ago, what the results would have been. Because 15 years ago, we didn't have a national broadband network. 15 years ago, cloud technology was in its infancy. So I can tell you, and 15 years ago is not actually a very long time. But 15 years ago, the impact of COVID on the local economy would have been catastrophic. You know, during COVID-19, obviously our tourism sector was not working, but offshore was. Financial services sector was working, and foreign currency was earned by the financial services industry. It did not compensate for all of the lack of forex that the shutdown of the hospitality sector caused, but still we mitigated it. But 15 years ago, if we didn't have you know, all these work from home technologies and cloud technologies, you can imagine that the impact on the country would have been catastrophic. So technology is an enabler, and at the same time, it has changed the mindset a little bit in the country, in the sense that people now are more open to using technology. I'm sure there would have been people resisting to use online teaching. There would have been people resisting to use online conferences. And in fact, this very event today is testimony to what is possible nowadays. You know, we have a physical event thanks to those who are here, but at the same time, we have a lot of people who registered online. And we have one panelist who is going to join us later on. Unfortunately, for COVID reasons, she's not able to come today in person, but we will welcome her online. And this is all possible because of, you know, technology. So for a company like Cybernaptics, this has certainly created new opportunities, but at the same time, there are certain considerations that perhaps did not weigh as heavily before that are now extremely important. And I'm talking about user safety, I'm talking about privacy, and I'm talking about data security. You know, your data is moving online, you have different types of platforms who are processing your information. by default, because you're going online, you have to be connected to the internet, and that brings a certain series of safety considerations. So we as a technology companies, we've had to actually come up with the necessary protocols and safety considerations whenever we perform any deployment that would enable companies to leverage technology for example, for working from home. But there was an initial phase of panic deployment, because when COVID struck and we went into shutdown, everybody needed to get the employees to work from home. And at that time, some compromises were made. I think it was inevitable. But now that, I'm not saying that COVID is behind us, but I think we can take stock and try to improve on what we have already done and consolidate. I'm going to share an interesting fact with you. In 2020, right after we were coming out of the first lockdown, the World Bank classified Mauritius as a high-income country. And, it's a matter of pride for us as Mauritian people, and it's no doubt the result of sustained effort from our elders since the 1970s, with the development of the, well, first there was the agricultural sector, then there was the manufacturing sector, then there was the tourism sector, and then the financial industry, and then the newborn, which is the ICT industry, which employs 15,000 people at least today. Let's not forget. So from a monocrop agricultural economy, we've diversified into, a 5-pillar economy today. But as we enter this restricted club of high-income countries, we have to ask ourselves 2 things. First of all, what kind of economic growth can we expect in the next 10 years? And you have to remember, as we jump into that restricted club of high-income countries, every percentage point of GDP will fetch a higher dollar value. So where will those dollars come from? And will it be sustained, or will it slow down? And secondly, what kind of jobs will this new phase of our economy generate? So let me share some demographic statistics with you. And that has been a discovery for me when I was working on this speech. I got some figures from the Central Statistical Office, and I wanted to check how many students are enrolling in Standard 1, or Primary 1. And there's been a drop from 1990 to 2019, because the data goes as far as 2019. We haven't got data for 2020 yet. But it dropped by 30%. So if you think about it, between 1919 and 2019, it's almost like 30 years. It's been dropping on average 1% a year. I don't know whether we can extrapolate this. Probably not. But if that continues, if families settle on a 1 child per couple, or even 2, then we can expect there will be a reduction in terms of children. Therefore, people who will be joining the active workforce in the future. And at the same time, I looked at life expectancy. And life expectancy between the same period, I'm talking 1990 to 2019, increased from 69.4 years old to 74.2 years old. So that's a 7% increase in the sea level. So these are statistics from the World Bank, by the way. So what does it mean? It implies that there will be a corresponding increase in pension, in medical and social benefits for the retired population. And also, this is compounded by the fact that we have the youth professional migration problem. Many of our youth who get the chance to work abroad, maybe they've studied abroad, or maybe they get an opportunity from here as a result of the experience and qualifications they have acquired, they choose to work abroad, and that's normal. as a young person, you want to explore the world, and this is a fact now. Work is essentially global. It's a global market, and people are mobile. So you can see our problem. Our GDP goes up for every percentage point as we are now in that high income bracket. Becomes harder. But our active population is decreasing while our retired population is increasing. And at the same time, many young professionals are being lost, either by those who go study abroad and do not return, or from those here who get the opportunity. So the net result is that we have to learn to do more with less if we want to sustain our lifestyle and prosperity in this country. And at the same time, sustain the social burden that is going to increase. So one way to achieve that is through enhanced productivity through technology. And, especially in the field of automation. Automation can help us to do more with less. So more work with less human resources to achieve the level of GDP growth that we will have to seek, maintain, as I said, both the level of prosperity that we are used to, and to meet our social obligations towards our elders. So, but at the same time, we need to prepare people to embrace technology. We need to prepare them to become not just users of technology, but in certain cases, we also want creators of technology. Okay. Automation is going to hit the BPO industry in a, I would say, spectacular manner. In the past, for developing countries, jobs have moved across borders because of wages differentials. People cost less in developing countries. But if the same jobs can now be automated by using AI bots, why would those jobs leave the city of London? Or why would they leave New York when they can be done cheaply 24/7 by those bots? So we have to get prepared for that because it's coming. So finally, I would like to this brings us to the forum that we have planned today on this very subject, and that I hope we'll get a lot of engagement on. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank our panelists today for their kind contribution and for accepting to participate, namely Professor Jhurry from the university, Diya, Jetshan, Head of Technology and Digital Transformation of the IPR Group. And joining us remotely will be Marie-Noëlle, General Manager of CareerHub.mu. Thank you for being with us today. I would also like to thank members of the audience who have taken the time to attend this, either physically or remotely. And finally, I would like to thank my team, Kelly and Barisha, especially from our marketing team, and Marie-Noëlle and Charlie from Talent Factory, who've been working tirelessly to make this happen. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Viv. May I now invite Professor Jhurry to the stage?
Viv, good friends, Dean of Faculty of ICDG, are you hearing me? Looks like, yeah, sure. Dr. our good friend Media, and good to you whenever we have an activity at the university. Distinguished guests, our good friend journalist from the Mauritius, and it's very important for me. It's a very important day for me. Whenever we have to sign a new MOU with industry, it's very important all the time. We say it's not, the first time was, exceptional. The second time was exceptional, and it goes on like this. They say why? That also reminds me of when I was doing active research. I was when you got your first publication. When I was a student, and I got my first publication. when the referees report get to you, you can just start shaking, say, goodness, are they accepting or not? And then when you read the report and see that, you got to do some kind of corrections and so on, well, that was the first. But the second is the same. The third is the same. And you say, when you get to the 25th, it won't be the same because you're used to it. But the same emotion comes back again and again. And that is important. Because if there is no emotion, then, you lose not the intention, but the drive of doing things again and again. So how did it start at the university? It all started in 2017. When I joined as VC, I had to produce a vision paper. And in the vision paper, I wrote that a university cannot just look at human capital and intellectual capital. And people ask me, what do you mean by human capital and intellectual capital? And I say, well, human capital is when we do training. We do teaching and learning. And we train people. This is the human capital, isn't it? But then we also do a lot of research. And when we do research, it's building the intellectual capital. But can any university just rely on those two? I don't think so. We got to open up. And we started by opening up and saying we need to build a third quadrant. That quadrant is business capital. How do you build business capital? You work with industry. Why you need to work with industry? They've explained everything to you. Industry is expecting universities to work with them. Why? Because we're not only helping industry to move forward, we're bringing talent to them. If we are in the field of, what we call wet research, they do not necessarily have all the, equipment. So they come to the university because it costs them, much less than to invest in all the equipment. So it's important to have university working together with industry. It's also important for our students. We always hear people saying, the students, when they come to industry, it's a headache. They got to train them back again. But it's not only the University of Mauritius, it's everywhere in the world. I hear the same language everywhere. Why is it the case? Why? We're all going through it. We were all students of universities long back. We were not necessarily trained to work in industry, but when we joined industry, we adapted. So the universities have to work closely with industry to develop new programs. And you're in a field that is moving so fast. What was the goalpost yesterday is the starting point tomorrow. So we need to adapt. And how do we do that? It's by working closely with industry, developing joint programs. It's not the first that we're going to, it's not the first signature. We have signed a number of them with other companies, Accenture, Ceridian. We're moving forward into developing new programs, not programs that are designed in-house only, but programs that we design by working closely with industry. And I can tell you, Viv, you will totally concur with me. You were a member of Senate. When we were looking at the programs that were designed with industry, as chair of Senate, I could immediately see the difference. The difference in the context, the difference in being abreast of new developments, of bridging the gaps. And this is exactly what we have to do. So we need to bridge the gap. When our students go to industry, they are well trained. They are immediately operational. We don't need industry to retrain them. So that's important. So it enhances the learning of our students by working with industry, over and above, being able to do the research together and so on. When you were talking about all the problems our country will have to face, this relationship with industry has got to be further developed. Not many believe in this. I remember 5 years ago when I joined the university, I was saying we need to have industry on campus. And people were saying to me, it's a joke. You probably are dreaming. I said, I'm not dreaming. I'm just looking at what MIT is doing. MIT has got all the top companies around itself, right? All the top companies. If you go to Israel, one of the leading technology countries, all the big companies are based in Israel. And when you look at Israel, I mean, the progress they're making is huge. So it's nothing to reinvent. I mean, the recipe is there. We've got to work with industry. And those countries, those developed countries, they've not started now. They started centuries ago, right? Still remember, I had a chance of when I started my PhD. I was in Bordeaux, and I was lucky to get what they call industrial, an industrial scholarship. That is industry paying for your PhD. I was lucky to have Beginsay at that time. I'm a chemist, so Beginsay wanted to develop or find other applications for sugar than just using sugar for food, as a food product, and looking for other applications. So they joined University of Bordeaux and put in money, exactly what you're doing. And I was lucky to have that scholarship and started my PhD working with Beginsay. And all throughout the 3 years I've been working with Beginsay, I had a chance of traveling from Bordeaux to Lyon almost every 2 months to give an account of a report on the progress I was making. And it was incredible when you go to industry and you work with industry. It's totally different when you are at the university. The way they look at the progress is different. You're very happy. You construct your PowerPoint, put your tables and all the things, and you're very happy. And taking the flight in the morning, going to Lyon, and I was thinking to myself, tu vas faire un tabac. And when I get there, I say, my goodness, it's not exactly what they're looking for. Industry is looking for different things. So little by little, you kind of break that wall that exists, that very tall wall that exists between university people and industry people. At some point in time, we used to say industries, they're like angels. We're like angels. We do things very well. We know how to do these things. And industry, they just take recipes, just to kind of take recipes and do kind of routine things. Not at all. Not at all. And when you are in industry, you find that things are very different. They're to the point. They want to solve problems. They're not there to do just publications, right? They want to solve problems. Of course, they've got patents. That's very important, because if they don't patent, they're not able to take it further. So all these things are very important. So we learn a lot by working with industry. It's not just that we are happy to get money, we're happy to get a training going on. It's a two-way traffic. They learn from us, we learn from them, and this is how it should be. And it's a win-win. It's a win-win situation. And I had a chance also when I finished my PhD, I got employed in an R&D company, and I happened to be the liaison officer between the company and the University of Lyon. Moved to Lyon at the time, and when I was attending, they invited me to all their talks and conferences and so on. And when I was going to the university, my colleagues were saying to me, spend some good time. You'll be very relaxed when you go to the university, and they won't be the same. Because we feel like we're more stressed working in the industry. It's good also to pass on that stress to our people here, to get them, more stressed so they can deliver better. And so for all these reasons, I think that it's very important. But then you may ask me, and it comes to what you were saying, when we are working with industry and we are building that business capital, I forgot to mention that the fourth quadrant is the social capital. Very important to work with the civil society. And take the civil society on board. When we are working in all those four quadrants, it changes totally the way university functions. It's not the same. It's not the same. So all of a sudden, we are out of the ivory tower and we are more open to people. Being more open is extremely important. This is how people get to us. We track the Jhurry, Accenture, Artinits, so many others are now very interested in working with us. It all started the same way. It all started by putting some money into funding a student or a research assistant, and then it keeps it growing. With Artinits, I mentioned that, we had partnered with them into that nano mask that we had developed at the university. And when it got to production, then Artinit say to us, now we want to go further. We want to put in 3 million, 4 million into the research and development of the university, right? So it's all, and I'm sure that in a few years' time, if people were working, you will be churning out results, and you'll say, well, instead of one, we get two, or we now have a long-term collaboration. And I'm sure it will be that. It will be exactly that, like that. And at the end of the day, what are we doing? We at the university, we have put not our ivory tower in the center of the marketplace, but we put innovation in that center. And what is innovation? Very simply, what is innovation? If you were to give a definition of innovation, what would you say? I'm not lecturing. I'm just asking you a question. Well, you probably would say that it's connecting the dots. Yeah. It's connecting the dots. That's all. You see dots everywhere, and you put linkages, you put bridges. So we bridge with industry, we bridge with government, we bridge with the civil society, and that's all about innovation. And unless we get on the innovation curve, and not, well, of course, we have been doing a lot of innovation in our country, but it was all incremental innovation. So it took us a lot of years from the 1960s until the 1990s or 2000. Took us a lot of years to get on the innovation path. Why? It also took us a lot of years to get to that, out of that middle income trap. So many years. I mean, it took us more than 10, 15 years to get out of that middle income trap. So now that we are out of the middle income trap, hopefully we will do more, and more means not just relying on incremental innovation, it's going towards radical innovation. So thinking differently, doing things differently, working with industry, getting to patenting, putting technology there. So, I mean, it's a lot to do. And the university is doing what it can, to bridge the gap. It's also industry, and we're happy that more and more industries are coming now. More and more companies are coming to develop partnerships with the university. Very recently, another company, little company, came to us and said to us, look, guys, energy is an area of extreme importance. And we are talking of electric cars. What do we do with the batteries in 5 years? When we get rid of the batteries and when we replace the batteries, they have 90% efficiency. They still have 90%. So batteries are very costly. Do we throw them into nature? Or do we do something different with them? That's about battery management system. So it's again about putting putting minds together into developing, into reprogramming the batteries and using the batteries for something else. And they can be used for another 5 years. So all these things are very important. That I can keep giving you examples of the number of things we can do in so many different areas. But we cannot do it on our own. We got to work with industry, and we got to work, of course, with the government as well. And we got to do things in such a manner that it's all sustainable. Sustainability is extremely important, right? So if we are not abiding by the Sustainable Development Goals and doing things that will not cause problems to the future generation, we may miss something there. So on top of all we have to do, we have to have in mind that sustainability aspect. And if we can work in that direction, I think we should be able to succeed. And I'm not sure I'm going to be here for years, but for the time I'm here, I will certainly give all the support I can to further enhance university-industry partnership. So we're happy that we have signed this one with you, and now look forward to our friends from the faculty to ensure that if they don't come back after 3 years, the fault will be yours, definitely, not theirs. So you know what you have to do. So with these words, let me thank you again, Viv, and happy that see so many people from Cybernaptics here. Easily recognize them with their polo shirts. We don't have polo shirts here at the university. Some departments do. So very happy, and wish you all the best into what you're doing. And of course, if you need anything else, that I'm here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I hope you have more examples to share with us, because you've really given us a very bright picture of what you're doing in terms of building, as you said, bridges between the industry and the academic. I am Marie-Noëlle, and I am PR consultant working with Cybernaptics, and I'll be your moderator for the panel. Today, I would like to invite Mrs. Diya Jetshan to come and join us. I want to ensure with Kali whether our fourth panelist is here.
Yes. Yes, she's here.
She's here. Will we see her? Or are we like those Zoom meetings? We ask her to put on the camera.
Oh, it's on the camera.
Yes. Do we see her?
Hi. Hello.
Great to see you. So we may start now. Welcome to this panel discussion. Marie, may we ask you to put your, maybe she's on mute, So welcome to this panel discussion, which is titled Future of Work, Digital Transformation, and the Future of Our Economy. As I said, I'm Marie-Noëlle and I'm PR consultant with Cybernaptics. The world will remember 2020 as a year that witnessed an unprecedented acceleration in digital transformation instigated by the disruption of COVID-19. Traditional work models no longer provide the agility, scalability, and resilience required by tomorrow's enterprises. The RCA that Cybernaptics just signed with the University of Mauritius is a perfect starting point for this discussion on the role of digital transformation on our work models and how should this translate into a stronger economy. Again, let me briefly introduce you to our panelists. You know two of them already. Professor Jhurry doesn't need any more introduction. He's the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius since March 2017. And he has received various national and international awards and recognition. And I think we must really put to your credit, Professor, your efforts in, as you said, bridging the gap, building bridges between the academic world and the industry. I myself work with many industry captains, and I've seen most of them coming here at the university, namely Artemis, the AMM, and CCI. So that's really to your credit. And thank you again for hosting this talk within the midst of the university. Viv also is, by now you know him, the Managing Director of Cybernaptics. And as he said, Cybernaptics has offices in Mauritius and Africa. He's also one of the past presidents of Affinit, and he has also served on the University of Mauritius Senate. Thank you, Viv, for also making this happen. Jetshan is since 2018 the head of technology and digital transformation at IBL Group, one of the largest conglomerates of the island, with operations in 9 clusters and operations around 19 countries worldwide. That's a feat, really. She's a senior executive with over 20 years of experience and a proven track record in change management in technology and operations, amongst other expertise. As head of technology and transformation at the IBL Group, she leads the digital transformation program for the group with a roadmap of more than 450 initiatives over the past 3 years. That's simply amazing. Thank you, Diya, for having accepted to be on this panel this morning with us. And Marie-Noëlle, she's not with us physically, but digitally, so that's good. That's a good example of how technology helps us to move forward. She's the general manager of 2 leading platforms in recruitment, talent management, and sourcing, Meetyourjob and CareerHub.mu. CareerHub.mu is a digital marketing agency specialized in recruitment in Mauritius, with more than 70,000 followers on Facebook and on most popular online channel. CareerHub.mu is a player to reckon with within the HR industry. And Meetyourjob is, if I'm not mistaken, a job posting platform consistently gaining traction. Through CareerHub and Meetyourjob, Marie is able to identify and anticipate trends in the recruitment sector and shifts in the work landscape in Mauritius. Welcome, Marie. So I will start by putting the first question to all panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently in the middle of a pandemic, which has brought our world to a stop. Our lifestyle, our work environment have changed. Besides the inevitable work from home challenges, what has fundamentally changed for you, for your company, or for your institution today? I'll start with Professor Jhurry. Yes,
it's working. I think we should keep the mask on. Right. Yes, what has changed for me and for my institution? I think a lot has changed. When we went into lockdown in March 2020, we had only 2 weeks of lectures remaining for the second semester of that academic year. So it was very easy for us overnight to switch to online delivery to complete the 2 weeks training or the 2 weeks lectures that we had to deliver. Well, we could do that overnight. And, you know, people did it mechanically, but didn't realize that if we hadn't invested into a new credit system in 2018-2019, we changed our old credit system to what we call the learner-centered credit system, which is a lot about, of course, outcome-based teaching and learning, outcome-based programs, but also a lot of technology embedded. And during that year, 2018-2019, we provided a lot of training to our staff for online delivery, for going through Google Classroom, etc. So that was extremely helpful. We were at that time not conscious that maybe one day we would be having a pandemic. But when the pandemic came, it was more or less natural to switch immediately to online delivery. But people didn't realize that We were able to do so because we were prepared. Had we not built, the necessary system, had we not invested into the necessary technologies, it would have been extremely difficult to do that. So we were able. However, I should not say that everything was perfect. Of course, we encountered problems. Our lecturers in IT, in mathematics, overnight was very difficult for them to start, doing their lectures. So they requested for more equipment. We had to invest into purchasing tablets where they could write easily their formulae or the equations and so on. So we had to invest. Then after the 4-5 months that we went through the pandemic, we started reflecting on making digital transformation at the center of our objectives at the university. So it's important for me to say at this stage that universities have been investing into online delivery for the past 30 years. It's not because of COVID that we all of a sudden jumped to online delivery. We were doing online delivery since the 1990s. At the university, 110 modules were delivered until the pandemic online. So we were doing that. The pandemic has accelerated, that transformation. When we started the year in the 2020-2021 year, the second semester has been delivered totally online. The first semester was delivered on a blended mode. The new academic year, 2021-2022, will start on the 15th of November, will be fully online for lectures. Tutorials will be done on site. A set of tutorials, not all tutorials, because it's important also to give the student the feeling that they've done something new, right? They move from the secondary to the tertiary sector. This is something different, and it's also important in our jargon to encourage peer-to-peer learning, right? Peer-to-peer learning is also beyond just technology usage. People need to meet and discuss projects, discuss things. So we are trying to embed all this into what we're doing. I'll probably, as we move along, say a few more things on how we view digital transformation. But I think I'll give a chance to others.
I'll ask Diya now to take the answer.
This one works. Yeah, so IBL being such a large group, we are very diversified, so businesses are very different. So as Viv was saying earlier, offshore and services companies, overnight, they could start working remotely. Some essential services could not by the nature of their business. Winners, MedActive in the healthcare services couldn't really, but I must say we invested in technology. Since a few years, we're using Microsoft Office 365, so all the video conferencing, email, etc. was already available, and people could start working remotely. A lot of pressure came on the IT support teams because they had to equip all employees overnight so that they could continue working. And at some point, we started having shortages of equipment. Laptops today is a big problem. We have a worldwide shortage of laptops. So with the disruption in the supply chain worldwide, it is an issue today. So we have to stock more. I mean, the way we've worked has really changed. Business continuity has come top of mind now. We need to have plan A, plan B, and even plan C because COVID cases are still there. We have team members getting contaminated, and we have to have backup plans all the time. So the way we manage business has completely changed today. And even transformation projects. I mean, I was completely impressed by winners, which with the management, who have been able to implement a new system during the pandemic, completely remotely, with a service provider based in France, conducting training with all the shops, with all the people in training rooms remotely. So, I mean, we have really accomplished extraordinary things during the pandemic, and it's not going away soon. So the way we manage teams as well has changed. There's a lot of one-to-one interactions, much more today. A lot of empathy that needs to come in because people are isolated. So we need to be in touch much more often, need to check in with people because everyone is isolated. So in a few words, this is the impact that has been brought. But with the drive of technology and digital transformation around the world, the technology landscape and the landscape of service providers has also changed. So there's a lot of acquisition and mergers going on in the sector. And even engaging with service providers has changed today. When we do due diligence with service providers, we need to go much deeper, understand their strategy, because overnight their strategy can change. So that's about it from me.
Thank you. Thank you. I like the way you spoke also of empathy, because finally we stay human at the end of the day. And Marine, can you take the question? What has fundamentally changed for you at CareerHub and Meetyourjob? Besides, of course,
Yes.
From home.
I would say that 4 things have changed for us. Firstly, the obvious one was working from home. Working remotely has been very easy for us because we had already the right tools, but I think we didn't really trust that way of working. But the pandemic proved us that it improved the well-being of our teams and also their productivity, and it really went smoothly. So today we do flex office, which works very well. Secondly, the pandemic allowed us to attack the international markets. Recruitment is a service that companies could not imagine executed remotely before, but the pandemic has changed everything, and we benefited from it to widen our international portfolio and conduct recruitment from here in Mauritius for Occidental countries, for instance. The third point is the digitalization of our processes. Unfortunately, we had to lay off 30% of our teams in 2020, and during the recovery in 2021, we had to learn to do as much with fewer resources, and this went with the digitalization of our processes, using more tools for digitalize our sourcing, for instance. And finally, our way to manage change also with much more transparency. We had to gain back the confidence of our teams during the crisis, and this went through transparency, being really honest about about the turnover, about the objectives, and the way forward. So, and we are still very transparent today, much more than we used to be before.
Thank you, Marie. That's very interesting to talk about transparency as being one also a key metric also in this changing world. I'll go now to Professor Jhurry. As I said, you've been building bridges with the business communities and local industry champions, namely through your 2 annual innovation weeks, which I think are really gaining traction also. Could you walk us briefly through your strategy to aligning the UOM to the future of work, to the future of Mauritius? How are you aligning? How is the university aligning to the future of work?
Yeah, so our mission at the university is to build the human capital, as I said. So we need to train our students in such a manner that they are also that they can more easily adapt themselves to the world of work. So we're trying to not only impart knowledge to our students, but also building the right skills that they need. And that's why it's important for us to work with industry, because it is through internships in industry, it is through working on real problems with industry that our students will be able to get the necessary skills. Well, knowledge, skills are very important, but we're also putting a lot of emphasis at the university on inculcating the right mindset to our students. That is very important. We try to get them closer to all those concepts of sustainability, of regeneration. That's very important for our students. Not only to build, the hard technical skills, but also those soft skills that are required. In other words, we try to get our students more employable, and this is a concept which has changed a lot, in the field of universities. Universities were there to provide knowledge, but now universities have got to provide knowledge and ensure that the students are employable. And and we've got metrics that will judge universities on their performance in terms of employability. So that's a key element. We also engage more into research. So we are putting a lot of emphasis. We have created a doctoral school, and we have putting a lot of effort into attracting students into research. That's very important. We have about 220 doctoral students. To do better, we need to double. But that's a huge problem because, as Viv rightly mentioned earlier, we're having less and less students coming to the university. So how do we do that? Should we attract talents? Should we bring in more people from other countries? Singapore has got a much higher percentage of talent than we do in our country. So we should attract talent. Building bridges with industry is important. As I said, it's about connecting the dots. There's no way we can do things differently. So we need to work on real problems. Industry also has to realize that if it doesn't invest into building the kind of linkages with universities, they might not be in the long run competitive. So it's a matter of also their survival, not just the survival of the university. And if we can all put our heads together into doing things for enhancing the lives of people, that is also very important. So if you put all this together, we are just connecting dots, and we are trying to get our country on that innovation path, which is extremely important. If we do not put our efforts on innovation, it might be very difficult for a country to sustain. To sustain not only a living, and things are getting very, very, very hard. We've said it. We got to do more with less. That's the motto. More with less. So the equation is a tough one. And unless we join hands and minds together, I don't see how we can do much better than others. And I always say that we have the same number of geniuses in our country as we have in other countries, but because of the smallness of our population, we have much less than a country like India, for example. They got millions, and we got a few. So I don't think we should rely too much on having geniuses, but we should rely on building the kind of ecosystem. And this is exactly what we've been doing at the university: build the ecosystem. Might not be seen like that, but it is exactly what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to build that ecosystem, and hopefully that will be, the right choice.
I can assure you from what I see with my other clients, being myself working with many companies, the role that university is playing is being seen. the way that you're building the dots, connecting the dots with industry leaders is being seen. I can reassure you about that. And also,
thank you very much. We'll get to the check later.
Yes. No, it's really because I see it. I see it.
No, I was joking.
And yeah, and also from what you say, it's also a matter of our own survival as a nation and as an economy. This is what we're talking about. I'll pass the mic now to Viv, who has been also very encouraging to do this, very adamant to do this talk. Viv, what are the challenges that you see for Mauritius today to sustain our economic growth? And what part can IT service providers like yourself, like Cybernaptics, can play?
I think IT service providers are an essential component of that ecosystem that the Vice Chancellor just mentioned. And we, at the end of the day, we are here to service the operators of the economy. But I think there are a number of things also that we need to take into consideration that, in my opinion, need to happen in order for us to thrive. You know, I like to say that no one gets rewarded for inventing the wheel. It's been done thousands of years ago. But there is certainly merit to use the wheel, you know. And what I'm trying to say is that, let us say we succeed our next phase of transformation of our economy in moving rapidly into more innovative products and services, into moving up the value chain. Then we have to imagine that for all this work that is being done, companies investing in R&D, universities contributing, bringing more students, research students into R&D, if we are successful, that will lead to a pool of innovative services and products that will become available. But then we have to create an environment to create a demand for those services, which means that we have also to prepare the population and the government to receive, to be willing to try change, because change is always hard, you know. And one of the things which is close to my heart is that I think we have the recipe to succeed in that next phase of transformation, but sometimes we are our own worst enemy, in the sense that those companies who need those services, and the government as well, they tend to seek it outside. Why? Because external service providers are more well established, they've got more experience, they've got a track record. Whereas choosing a local one might involve a risk. But if we are not willing to take that risk, you know, then we will never be able to, we will kill innovation, because otherwise it will not be sustainable. And that's another key word that I'm using from what Professor Jhurry said. We have to be able to create the demand for those services, even though sometimes it might lead to some failure. Okay, we step back, we refine, we fine tune, and we move forward. So I think that's the key message for me.
Thank you, V. So innovation has to start here. It has to start here. I'll go to Diya now. Going digital is probably something we hear when we speak of businesses preparing for the future. But in real life, sur le terrain, what are the biggest challenges for an organization embarking on a technological transformation journey? And also, how do you overcome those challenges?
I could spend hours talking about this because this is my day-to-day, but I'll try to be short. I think for me, digital transformation, the most important word in digital transformation is transformation before technology. It's about people. It's about the mindset of people, like Professor Jhurry just mentioned. We're really transforming the way people work, the processes that people conduct, the way we interact with customers, the way customers interact with our organizations. So it's all about people before thinking about technology. And there's a real need for a change of mindset right from the top of the organization. And this takes time. And in businesses, we are always looking for the P&L, looking for results. And that's a real journey that we need to take the business leaders through, even the board members, the shareholders, because it's a long-term game. It's a long-term game because we need to invest not only in technology, but in the people. We need to train them, but also we need to upskill them. We need to make them more digital literate. We all assume that we just put technology in the hands of people and they'll start using it. But it's a real journey. It's about, and the fact that the technology landscape is changing so much and so rapidly that people simply can't keep abreast of all the evolutions that's happening. So people need to be accompanied along the way. And how do we overcome these challenges? It's simple in a way. We involve the people right from the start. It takes more time. It's just not merely a technical implementation. It's really building the solution with the users, with the customers, with the employees, with the management. And that we really need to continue reinforcing change management in all the projects that we do. And this is a real focus for us on all the projects. Right from initiation, we start embarking everyone in the journey. And along the way, we test things. We don't simply go big bang anymore. We test things. We put the technology in the hands of the people, make them test it, and sometimes they fail. Sometimes the technology fails, and we start again. So it's a real change from, I think, past 10, 15 years, where it was about just implementing technology. Today, it's about how we bring value to the people who are using technology. And that's very important to embark people on this journey, because there's also the fear of being replaced by technology. And that's a real fear that needs to be addressed. But that also means that companies need to invest in upskilling the people, in more value-added tasks. I mean, Viv mentioned RPA, robotic process automation, things like simple business process outsourcing won't exist in a few years. So people need to be prepared. And I think this is where industry, universities, government need to work together on national programs, because we need to prepare our people for the future.
So it's interesting, we speak both of organization being ready, but also the people being ready. Of course, we can also be. You are all allowed to react after.
No, I would just like to make a comment on something very important that I think that Diya has mentioned, and I would just like to re-emphasize in the digital transformation strategy. Failure has to be an option. If failure is not an option, people will be so scared of innovating that they will stick to what they are comfortable.